Total NHL preview. Central Division. Gulutzan returns to Dallas to build a championship-caliber team. The list of departures was much longer than arrivals, but this shouldn't be alarming. Cap limitations and Mikko Rantanen's new contract forced tough decisions. Some players were only acquired near the trade deadline, making retention unlikely. Granlund, Celeric, while others' contracts had to be offloaded due to declining performance. Dumba. Real losses were Mason Marchment and Yevgeny Dadonov. Jim Nill's task was extremely challenging, and Matt Duchene played a key role in solving it. The previous season's top scorer could have earned $8 million with hypothetical teams, such as Chicago or San Jose, but Duchene accepted a significant concession, agreeing to $4.5 million, showing that a cup chance and team ambitions mattered more than short-term earnings. This offseason saw many rumors regarding Jason Robertson, who is in the final year of his contract. However, the tough decision appears postponed to next offseason. The Stars retained key players, and a successful draft allowed a smooth transition from the Ben Seguin era to new young leaders. Notably, before Ben's injury, the Ben Duchene-Seguin line was projected as only the team's third line, demonstrating the Stars' roster depth. After 3 consecutive conference final losses, Peter DeBoer was fired, a move that seemed correct. While DeBoer had a strong roster, his team consistently underperformed in decisive moments. An extremely early replacement of Jake Oettinger in Game 5 against Edmonton also raised questions about locker room issues. Now, after 10 years, Glenn Gulutzan returns. Inexperienced in his first Dallas tenure, he now brings valuable experience from Edmonton, even as an assistant. Gulutzan promises to make the team tougher, akin to a championship Florida team. Overall, Jim Nill reaffirmed his reputation as one of the NHL's top managers. From an offseason that could have resulted in major losses, the Stars emerged with minimal damage, preserving one of the most balanced and competitive rosters in the league. Grade: 5 out of 5. Landeskog leads the way. Avalanche ready to conquer. The main obstacle for Colorado has been removed. Peter DeBoer, who previously found ways to exploit Jared Bednar's tactics and regularly cause problems for the Avalanche, is no longer active in the league. His absence removes a significant barrier at the season start. The most important addition for Colorado was internal. After 3 years away from hockey, few expected Gabriel Landeskog to return to the NHL. Yet the Swedish captain did, tallying 4 points in 5 playoff games after his hiatus. Landeskog's return is more about leadership than stats. He fills the leadership vacuum and brings back the toughness that helped the Avalanche become champions 3 years ago. The arrival of Brett Burns in Colorado is a real game-changer for the Avalanche's defense. The veteran, Stanley Cup winner with years of NHL experience, immediately adds leadership and stability to the team. Burns can create threats from the blue line, join the attack, and guide younger players, making him the perfect brain of the squad in crucial playoff moments. His presence elevates the team's hockey IQ and strengthens key lines, turning the Avalanche into a force to be reckoned with. Yes, age and stamina are factors that cannot be ignored, but Burns' experience more than compensates for any lack of speed. Every move he makes on the ice becomes a valuable contribution to the team's success, especially in the Stanley Cup race. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a strategic statement of intent, and now Colorado looks even more ready to make a serious championship run. The second-line center problem after the breakup of Burakovsky-Kedrinichishkin remained unsolved. 3 attempts to find a replacement failed. J.T. Comfer could not elevate from the third line. Ryan Johansson failed to revive his Denver career, and Casey Middlestat could not find chemistry with teammates and left for Boston. Brock Nelson, acquired from the Islanders at the deadline, will now assume the second-line center role. Nelson's contract is noteworthy. For a player who has never played in a final, it shows the club's intent to strengthen a key area. A potential difficulty remains. Acquiring Martin Necas instead of Mikko Rantanen looked reasonable on paper, but the Czech forward style doesn't always mesh with Nathan MacKinnon's game. Furthermore, Necas' contract is nearing its end, and reports indicate both sides expect a significant sum. The Avalanche have most of the regular season to integrate him into Bednar's system. Attention should also be given to Zahar Bardakov. His style, shaped as an SKA KHL leader, fits modern NHL hockey and Bednar's system. Currently, Bardakov has everything needed to break into the Avalanche's third line and gradually become a key offensive factor. The Avalanche's roster is more balanced compared to the previous season, with strengthened leadership, improved center depth, and enhanced defensive capabilities. While challenges remain, such as integrating new players and maintaining consistency, the team is well-positioned to contend for the Stanley Cup in the new season. Grade from -5 out of 5. Minnesota's new hopes. Kaprizov leads the charge, playoff dreams in sight. The Wild's offseason can be seen as balanced. The team strengthened key positions, retained its leaders, and added experienced players. However, given the strengthening of competitors in the Western Conference, the Wild could have taken more aggressive moves in the market. Until recently, Minnesota's prospects looked different, but the team achieved its key historical task, retaining Kirill Kaprizov. The $18 million annual salary seems high, but Kaprizov is already the franchise's best player, and this season he is expected to reach second all-time in points for the Wild. Last season's stats highlight his impact. With Kaprizov, the team earned 52 points. Without him, just 45. A 14-point difference is the gap between third place in the division and missing the playoffs. Even Matt Boldy's progress has not reduced the team's Kaprizov dependence. Reports suggest Kaprizov could have offered a discount, but Minnesota's role players typically do not. Marcus Foligno earns $4 million despite reaching 30 points only once. Jacob Middleton, $4. $35 million. And Yakov Trainin, who earned $1. $7 million in Nashville, doubled his salary to $3. $5 million after 17 points in Minnesota. Compared to these contracts, retaining Kaprizov was a strategic and fair move. Otherwise, the team acted carefully. Minnesota took on 100% of Vladimir Tarasenko's contract despite his poor Detroit season, without demanding additional assets. Nico Sturm also returned, a sizable role player with 2 Stanley Cups, valued by GM Bill Guerin for reliability and discipline. The NCAA/USHL market remains approached cautiously, but this risk is offset by a successful draft. In the top 6, 21-year-old Liam O'Brien is being integrated, while young defensemen Ziva Byam and David Erzasek, acquired from Columbus, are projected as key contributors. Ultimately, while $18 million for a superstar may seem steep, it is a necessary investment for Minnesota. The offseason goal was achieved, the leader is retained, and the team has a foundation for a stable season and future growth. Grade, 5 out of 5. Tays, Hellebuyck, and the team's future. How the Jets are building success. The past offseason for the Winnipeg Jets was a mixed bag. Losing Nikolai Ehlers hit the team's offensive potential hard, and filling that gap will be extremely challenging. However, the club managed to retain its most valuable players, New contract for Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Skifield strengthened the team's foundation and alleviated some image concerns regarding the reluctance of star players to stay in Manitoba. The main uncertainty lies at the second-line center position. After Pierre-Luc Dubois left, management took a risk by bringing in Jonathan Toews. On one hand, he brings unparalleled experience and leadership. On the other, 2 years away from the ice raised doubts. If Toews can return even partially to his previous level, the forward structure will become far more balanced. The Jets' roster depth remains a strength. The third line of Niederreiter, Namestnikov, Fallow looks reliable and can consistently close games at both ends of the ice. Young players are also developing, most notably Cole Perfetti, who is expected to become a future offensive leader. However, everything comes down to one player, Connor Hellebuyck. He is a goaltender capable of winning a playoff series single-handedly, but his inconsistency has cost the team before. The gap between average and peak Hellebuyck is so significant that the ceiling of this Jets team largely depends on him. In the regular season, the Jets have every chance to finish in the playoff zone again, relying on roster depth and a proven system. In the playoffs, they remain a dark horse. With a peak Hellebuyck and a functioning second line, the team could advance 1 or 2 rounds. But without progress at center and without goalie stability, Winnipeg risks remaining a solid mid-tier Western Conference team. The Jets are a team with a high floor, but a currently limited ceiling. Success will hinge on Hellebuyck and on whether Toews can once again be a major factor. Grade 4 out of 5. Predators unleashed. Bold moves, big questions. The Nashville Predators management took an aggressive and clearly defined approach this offseason. After a mixed previous season, the club focused on strengthening its offensive depth and adding experienced players capable of making an immediate impact. General Manager Barry Trotz continues to reshape the team toward a more modern, dynamic style while keeping the core intact. These moves signal the Predators' intention to move past their transitional phase and reestablish themselves as a legitimate playoff contender. A few years ago, when Barry Trotz became Nashville's GM, his moves appeared bold and unorthodox compared to standard GM actions. However, last season's chaotic and inconsistent decisions damaged Trotz's reputation. Recall the loss of Dante Fabro in the draft, who soon earned a $4 million contract from Columbus. The Predators accumulated many young players who failed to become stars. Glass, Tomasino, Parsonen, Fabro, all departed. Yet the team is not rushing youth integration. Whereas 2 years ago Nashville seemed to rebuild around veterans, now it's more of a win-now approach centered on Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg, with minimal youth infusion. Last season's strategy was bold, but yielded no results. At the start of the new season, the team took on 34-year-old Eric Howell's contract. He was one of New Jersey's worst players last year, while giving up a draft pick. The average age of the forward line nears 30. Also controversial was signing Nick Hague, formerly Vegas's third-pairing defenseman, to $5. $5 million, though competition in Vegas limited his role. At best, this Predators team could compete for a wild-card spot. At worst, rumors suggest Andrew Brunette's position may be vacated if the season starts poorly. Experienced coaches are available, leaving Nashville's trajectory uncertain. Grade 3 out of 5. Mammoth on the rise. A new era and real prospects. The Utah Mammoth offseason can be considered successful. The team strengthened key positions, signed promising players, and continues to build a competitive roster for the future. The management change is perhaps the best event in team history over the past 25 years. The team shed a series of unpredictable and eccentric owners and gained competent, ambitious management. It's time to leverage assets accumulated during years of rebuild and build for the long term. The first and second line issues from last season are partially addressed with J.J. Peterka's arrival. After standout performances for Germany, he has also shown promise in the NHL, even in Buffalo, where youth development conditions were challenging. The Coyotes acquired a player filling an important gap, while Buffalo could afford to part with him without detriment. The loss of the progressing Kesselring was offset by signing experienced Nate Schmidt and Dmitry Simashev, who will likely play in the AHL initially. Otherwise, Utah's roster looks ready to contend for the playoffs. The team has young yet already NHL-tested leaders, Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley, as well as one of the league's most underrated stars, Clayton Keller. They are supported by energetic lower-line players and versatile, well-rounded defense. The main question remains at goaltender. It is hard to say that Vitek Vanasek's level in recent years corresponds even to a reliable backup role. Beyond that, there are few issues. As with Nashville, a coaching change remains likely if the season starts poorly. 4 seasons of trust in Andre Tourigny were unprecedented for the modern NHL. Now the roster is different, expectations are higher, and management will need results from the first games. Grade, 5 out of 5. Betting big on Bedard. The Blackhawks' risky move. The Chicago Blackhawks offseason focused on strengthening the roster, extending contracts of key players, and continuing the development of their young talent. The club continues its rebuild, emphasizing internal growth and the creation of a competitive team. For 2 years, Chicago attempted to surround Connor Bedard with veterans, but both experiments failed. Taylor Hall was injured early, and Corey Perry left amid family-related rumors. Last season, most rookies underperformed at NHL level, and video footage showed Bedard's nervousness. Management appears to have placed full responsibility on the young star. With a limited cap, summer reinforcements are difficult. Chicago acquired injured Andrei Burakovsky from Seattle and returned pure role player Sam Lafferty. No other significant moves were made. GM Kyle Davidson explained the intent to give young players more ice time for development. Logical, but with 2 major caveats. First, the roster construction is unusual. 9 players are over 30, 9 are 23 or younger. The typical core of mid-age players is virtually absent, sacrificed in pursuit of Bedard. The result, Bedard is present, but nearly no supporting cast. Second, new head coach Jeff Blashill has little experience working successfully with young players. In Detroit, you spent extended time in the farm system. Notably, Blashill oversaw defense in Tampa, after which team defensive performance dropped sharply. Overall, Chicago has reasons for cautious optimism, linked to individual players, but this season's main factor is draft positioning. The team is willing to take risks on future talent, though results will appear gradually on the ice. Grade, 3- out of 5. Blues strategy calm rebuild for long-term success. Blues operates calmly and consistently, following a clear plan. A succession plan is forming. Doug Armstrong will soon transition to president of hockey operations, replaced as GM by club legend Alex Steen, maintaining team identity and continuity. Last season's rebuild benefited from bold moves, offering contracts to young Edmonton leaders and hiring Jim Montgomery immediately after his Boston firing. These decisions laid the groundwork for solving other team issues. Strengthening the second-line center position was a key priority. Braden Shen occupies that role. On the market, the Blues added Pius Zutter, who showed progress, and the physically imposing Nick Bjugstad, improving the team's central axis. Suter occasionally played second-line center in Vancouver and performed adequately. Long-term not ideal, but a third-line candidate was scarce. The trade of Zach Bolduc for Logan Mailloux surprised many. However, the Blues had young wingers developing and aging defensemen. The trade keeps the defense balanced while testing NCAA hero Jimmy Snuggerud in Bolduc's place. While Bolduc appears more mature, winger trade value is lower than defensemen, especially right-handed. Results will not be immediate. This approach requires patience and careful planning, unlike sudden overhauls. With strong divisional competition, the Blues must act with focus and discipline. Grade 4 out of 5.